Howdy folks, and welcome to another Taste of Gameplay video, this time for the Japanese Tier 10 Premium Cruiser, the Kitakami. As always, these videos are designed to give you a sample of the gameplay of the ship, not to be an exhaustive analysis. I recommend the Wargaming Wiki or other content creators. Man, have I been looking forward to this one. So I realized a while back as I was approaching 100 ships that I really wanted my 100th ship to be the Kitakami. Why the Kitakami, you ask? Well, first thing I will tell you is the Kitakami is the ship that I have, I believe, the most games in all of World of Warships. I have over 315 games played in the Kitakami, which I think is way more than any other ship in the game. Why is that? Well, I'm going to tell you. So oftentimes I play these ships where I've only got one or two games or maybe zero games, and I really can't give you much about the ship itself. You just have to watch the game. But in this case, I think if I'm not an expert in the Kitakami, I'm definitely more of an expert here than I am on just about any other ship. I have a 54% win rate in those 315 odd games, and I have the most damage in the Kitakami that I have in any ship in the game. So what's good about the Kitakami? What's bad about the Kitakami? What's mediocre about the Kitakami? I think you're going to see all those things in this game. I will say this game, I did not cherry pick this game. I just loaded into the game and played the very first game, and that is what you are watching. This is not going to be some kind of amazing game where I'm going to set a new damage record. I think I'm only going to do about 53k damage, sink one ship. It's going to be a little bit of a blowout, but I think it gives you a sense of what the Kitakami is about. It showcases all the different facets of her, including the ability to sink battleships, which is what she's best at. So let me give you a rundown of the Kitakami. So I will pretend that you don't already know the highlight reel here. To paraphrase my favorite movie, Spaceballs, the Kitakami doesn't just launch torpedoes, she launches a shitload of torpedoes. She has 40 torpedoes at once. That's not with a reload booster or anything. That's just 40 torpedoes, 5 launchers with 4 torpedoes each on each side. That is obviously insane. And so in order to balance that out, Wargaming had to make some really serious choices about what limitations there would be. And what they chose is actually something that I think is really interesting and cool, as I do 42.3 damage, 42.3 thousand damage to that Roma and help sink it. What they decided to go with was an enormously long reload. So it takes a little over 5 minutes to load all 40 of those torpedoes. But because that wouldn't really be very fun, what they did is they made it much more flexible, where instead of loading all the torpedoes at once, they do it kind of like they do with submarines, where every 62 seconds you get one launcher on each side. So you get 8 torpedoes. As I run away from this submarine in front of me. I hate submarines in every ship, but yeah, fighting submarines in a Kitakami, not terribly fun. Anyway, I think that's really cool, and it's really fun, and it's really flexible, because if you need a few torpedoes now, you can have them, and if you're willing to wait, or the situation just isn't correct, you can wait and launch 40 torpedoes at once. So 62 seconds for 8 torpedoes, depending on how you look at it, can either feel slow or it can feel pretty good. I think if I told you that a destroyer reloaded their torpedoes every, let's say, 93 seconds, and you got 3 launchers with 4 torpedoes each, you would think that was actually pretty good. I mean, that's, I think, even a little better than the Shimakaze. So people that think that 5 minutes is a really long time to wait, I mean, they're right, of course, but I think they're overlooking the fact that you actually get a pretty flexible and consistent amount of torpedoes in the Kitakami. And those torpedoes are amazing. First of all, you get 2 different kinds of torpedoes that you can choose from on the fly, and both of them are really cool for different reasons. The less damage torpedoes, the quote-unquote normal torpedoes, go 95 knots. They do 13.6 damage each, 13.6k damage each. So they're like supercharged Holland torpedoes, 95 knots. The other torpedoes, the deep water torpedoes, they only hit battleships and aircraft carriers, but they go 74 knots They go 20 kilometers and they do 24.1 thousand damage each. So it is super easy to just dev strike a battleship completely off the map. And I want you to think about what 40 torpedoes means, because 40 torpedoes is not just a lot of torpedoes. It is a strategically different amount of torpedoes, not just tactically, but like strategically. That is so many torpedoes that if you want to, you can make it in certain situations. So a certain specific ship, especially a battleship, is almost inevitably going to take at least some damage. You can paint such a wide arc that essentially no matter how they maneuver, unless they're really lucky and they know it's coming, they're going to take some torpedoes because they just can't move that fast and they can't turn that fast. This is a kind of sad counterexample because there happens to be this hull, this husk of the other battleship in the way. But I mean, I can paint an entire swath with torpedoes, and it's almost impossible to avoid. The Kitakami goes really fast. It's 38 knots base speed, but it also has a 15% speed boost whenever it wants it. So that's 44 knots. It has a full speed exhaust smoke. Again, anytime it wants. If you want to farm a little bit of damage on battleship superstructures, or if you need to use those smokes to get the heck out of Dodge because you got spotted, they're amazing. They're super fun. The guns are bad, but they're not as bad as people think. The firing arcs are not bad. They do 2700 alpha. You get a 3-second reload. They have an 11% fire chance. So they're not good, but they're useful for farming damage on battleship superstructures and maybe even some cruisers sometimes. So how do you play the Kitakami? Well, the way you play a Kitakami is like a really big destroyer. You never, ever, 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 ever get spotted, first of all. And the 44 knots of speed helps with that, helps with repositioning, helps with finding those positions where you can launch the torpedoes and be useful. And of course, the exhaust smoke is immensely helpful for that. You wait for good torpedo shots, but you don't wait for the best torpedo shots. So you don't overdo it on being cautious about launching your torpedoes. You switch back and forth between the two different kinds liberally. I do tend to use the 20-kilometer torps against battleships. Every time I start a game as a Kitakami, I make it my goal to sink all the battleships. Of course, that hardly ever happens, but they are your natural prey because of the torpedoes, because of your incredible... Oh, and I didn't mention your spotting. You have a 7.9 kilometer detect, which is not even all that bad for a destroyer, and it's amazingly good for a cruiser. So, I mean, am I trying to convince you that the Kitakami is an amazing ship and I'm the only one that figured it out? No, I'm not. I mean, this is a little like my video on the Tiger 59. I understand that the Kitakami has lots and lots of flaws. Of course, we haven't talked about the armor yet, but we will in a second. But what I'm saying is it's really fun and it's not nearly as bad as people think it is. Now, it almost doesn't matter what I say about it because you can't have one, of course. It was only available in this one event, and the price was egregious. The event was kind of lame, admittedly. The Kitakami is kind of special to me personally because it was basically when I decided to take World of Warships seriously that I really wanted to play this game a lot and be serious about it. And everyone was so down on the Kitakami and so sure it wasn't worth the money that I just felt like I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And so I invested a little bit of time and some money and bought her. And I've just never looked back since. I told myself I would play her until I got good in her, which I did. And ever since then, I pull her out more frequently than you would think. And I always have a really great time. And like I said, I have a 54% win rate, which is not amazing, but it's certainly not bad. If I told you that you could have a ship that went 44 knots with a full speed exhaust smoke and could launch 40 torpedoes, each of which went 95 knots out to 12 kilometers and did 13.6 thousand damage alpha. I mean, I'm sorry, that seems awesome. And it is awesome. I mean, it's super fun. Now, of course, you spend a lot of every game kind of sailing around in circles. Totally, totally true. You have to enjoy spotting. You You have to enjoy repositioning. You have to enjoy being a little bit of a ninja and trying to outthink your opponents. And there will be games where you just can't get that much done. It is a situational ship, to be sure. The armor is very, very bad, but ironically, that can make the ship tankier than you would think. Your natural enemies is ships with actually low caliber AP or short fuses. So the number one thing that can wreck you quickly is actually destroyers, enemy destroyers at short range, because they're the one thing that will outspot you. So they can sneak up on you, and then if they know what they're doing, they'll actually switch to the AP, and they will absolutely rip you a new one. They will wreck you. Battleships, cruisers have a nasty habit of just completely overpenning you or missing you entirely because you're long, but you're also really narrow and you're quite maneuverable. So it's actually not that hard to outmaneuver most shells, especially if you're trying to run away. And they just won't do actually that much damage to you because they get a lot of overpens. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not trying to tell you that the Kitakami is amazing. I'm not saying you should necessarily run right out and get one. If it ever comes back into the game, though, and you are a veteran of the game and you want an added challenge and you want something a little bit different, I highly recommend the Kitakami. I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as people make it out to be. I think it is totally fun, a completely serviceable ship. It's not junk. It's not a meme. It's not a waste of time. I mean, it is a meme, but it's not just a meme. It's not a waste of time. It's super fun. So, yeah, I felt like this was a good choice for my 100th video. I am looking forward to the next 100 videos. I've had an amazing, super fun time so far. Found some ships I didn't know much about. Played some ships I liked, played some ships I didn't like. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the videos so far and you enjoyed this one, even though, you know, it wasn't a showcase of everything Kitakami. But again, I didn't want to cherry pick a game. I wanted to show you the real Kitakami, and I think I did. So I will see you guys in the next video.